finding this Shinto rasp, just hold it and kind of pull it and rock it along the edge. You see what I'm doing here? And go in closer. And then finish up with this guy. I also probably didn't say anything. I'd spent some time already going across the tops, but that's pretty self-evident. When you come around to doing it, you'll know, okay, I better put my rasp across the top and even out the top down to the edge of the plywood. Okay, another trick I use to make my sandpaper last longer is I take some cheap Chinese-made shipping tape. Get 2 50-foot rolls for $1, and I back the sandpaper with a layer of that. That makes it much more pliable and it lasts a lot longer. Okay, another thing to do too is remember we had that bevel groove on the inside bottom of this outside rail. There's always a little bit of glue squeeze out, whether you use Gorilla Glue or whatever. I use Gel Magic, so I'll take a hacksaw with a little handle I screwed to the, I'll put a screw through pieces of wood and tape on the other end of the hole in the hacksaw blade, and I'll run that along in the groove. Hold it in place, and I don't know if you can see the dust falling out or not. That cleans it up nice, because we need that groove to be clean when we put the masking tape on the bottom here and fold it into that groove to act as a drip tray. I've got most of the rails shaped and primary sanding on them. I'll come back later and do some more feel. You want to feel along the edges and see if you have any rough edges or angles. I did that just previously to starting up the video again, and I had a couple places that I had to rasp down. But now we're going to do the little inserts here, and you can do it 2 ways. I've taken little bits of sandpaper and glued this to some small sticks that I had ripped out. They're about, I don't know, 3/8 wide by about 1/8 of an inch thick, little bits of wood, and then glued the sandpaper to them. And you can, after they're wore out, rip the sandpaper off and glue on new ones again. But it works perfect for doing the ends here on the top and the bottom. I wouldn't be too aggressive on it. Just give it a little round over, whatever you like. And then the other thing I do is I take some half a sheet of sandpaper so I can use the rest of my sander, and then back it with the shipping tape that I could use with the other paper. And that way that I can go in and do it this way, and then flip it over, and then do the and get an idea of what you're doing. And then you can also just kind of push it in a little bit and use your thumb or your fingers to roll in the edge for a final trim. But do as much as you want or as little as you want, but just be consistent from hole to hole, or at least from hole to hole. If you go change up every 4th or 5th one, it's so far away you can't see it, but that's one way to do it there. So, like I said, doesn't have to be much, just something to knock over the rough edge, so that in case something does get in there, like you tie a fender or something on and the rope burns around, it's not going to knock off the edge and expose unstained wood underneath, so, or cut into your line. So let me go ahead and finish this up, and we'll come back probably with the staining. Another trick too, when you get done finishing along, if you want to check the rounding, use this plastic back, the shipping tape back sandpaper. coming out anyway. The other thing I want to do too now, before I do the final finishing, is start getting the holes in for the oar lock sockets. And I always try to measure back 12 inches using your sliding angle, or 90 here. I like, for me, 12 inches from the back edge of the seat to the center line of the oar lock socket, which is basically about where your crotch is when you're sitting on the seat. You got some flexibility whether you have long arms or short arms, how much you set up fore or aft on the seat. But then take your mark, and I've got it set up to where it's just a little inside the line between the spacer rail and the inside rail, and then use your wood boring 3/4 inch bit. But I'll come back with my Dremel, because they have a slight taper on them in order to get the hole all the way through, and then get it into shape. And then I'll go ahead and center it, clamp it down, and I have one of those door hinge drill bits that has the tapering center part that you line up and then push the drill in. It's got a spring-loaded thing in it, so you line up the screw holes. So I'll do that after I get all the holes drilled. Okay, I've got all the holes bored and cleaned out and the oar lock sockets fitted, and now I'm going to take my little door jamb drill. This outside part comes down and the tip sticks out. I've got it lined up where I want it. Get it in place. Make sure you're vertical. Drill your hole. Do that to all of them. After a while, you just have to say enough is enough. I've got it down smooth. It looks good. Remember, it's a boat. It's not going to be an end table or a coffee table, even though it's pretty enough it could be if you had a large enough room, or if you wanted to hang it off to your ceiling in your rather large mansion. Right now I've got it sanded all the way, all the sides and underneath. Go around with your hands and kind of like give it a rough feel to make certain that you don't have any, make certain rough edges or angles or bevels or gun barrel diamond shapes. But just do it gently so you don't pick up that spare sliver that might be splintered that's hanging out to be able to get you. I'm happy right now. It's really good. I've dusted it down, wiped it down, so now I can go ahead and put on the stain. It's going to be kind of a dark, it's a Czar brand, and they call it Colonial Pine, but it has a nice brownish tint to it. I had some mahogany, but I think I'm going to paint the whole white with LPU paint. I'm going to get some System 3 LPU paint and give you a demo on how to do that. This stuff is really slick and it's easy to go on, even though the instructions make it look difficult. It's a pretty simple thing, but we'll get around to that when we get to it. But right now I'm going to go ahead and this will finish out. You don't need to watch me do the staining. I'm going to have a little section on another video, probably the one after this, or if this is too long, I'll add it to the end of this one, of checking your stain to see whether or not it works with epoxy, especially if you're going to stain something and then epoxy tape over it. So we'll get to that in a little how to do thing later. So, out.